This episode of the Two Idiots Podcast is brought to you in part by Adorned by Ruth. Valentine's Day is coming, folks. Are you looking for a unique gift to wow your special person? Check out Adorned by Ruth, a local jewelry brand that offers one-of-a-kind, high-quality earrings, bracelets, and necklaces.
Adorned by Ruth jewelry is made using sterling silver and gold-filled metal. Gold-filled is recommended by jewelers as a great alternative to solid gold because of its high content of gold as opposed to gold-plated jewelry. It's durable, water-resistant, and a fraction of the cost of solid gold.
Adorned by Ruth jewelry can be found on Etsy as well as on her website, which is adornedbyruth.com. If you're searching on Etsy, though, type the name without spaces, and Ruth also makes custom pieces and will work with you to create the jewelry item you want.
Adorned by Ruth makes gifting easy. Each jewelry piece comes packaged in a beautiful branded gift box, so it's gifting ready.
And to make it even easier, Ruth now offers gift cards at adornedbyruth.com.
If you want to add your own message, just leave her a note at checkout and she'll hand print it onto a gift card. TIP listeners get a special discount code that can be used at both the AR website and Etsy store from now until February 14th. Use code TIP10, that's tip 10, for a 10% discount on your cart total.
And if you're a local buyer, you can leave Ruth a note at checkout on either her website or on Etsy to arrange a contactless order, drop-off, or pickup for COVID, all that good stuff. So definitely check out adornedbyruth.com and also her Etsy store, etsy.com/ca/shop/adornedbyruth.
You can also find Ruth on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest.
Boom. Check her out, folks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Two Idiots Podcast. I'm Reg, and unfortunately, Randy's unavailable this week, but instead of him, we have someone a bit of an upgrade. This episode is a doozy, folks. We have an NHL Stanley Cup winner, All-Star multiple times, Olympic gold medal, World Junior, basically won everything you can win, Mr. Theo Fleury. You know, NHL great, I think, Hall of Famer. Not yet. But we chat about his career, life after hockey, the Laine trade, Tortorella, coaching in general, the different eras of hockey, his impact as a smaller player in a different league, technically, from now, kind of how that impacted things. Bell Let's Talk, mental health advocacy, working through that mental trauma, and his country music career, and his least favorite Red Wing, which was fun for the Red Wing and me. So yeah, this one's a doozy. This one's a really fun one. We're very honored that he was willing to join us, and we wish him all the best. But without further ado, here's Theo Fleury. Thanks for joining the show, Theo. Gotta admit, a little bit starstruck. I'm not actually a Flames fan as a rule, even though I'm wearing an Iggy jersey right now. But just NHL stars, former, current, whatever, get me a little bit swooning. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's start off. First off, where I'm recording here from south of Winnipeg. Whereabouts are you coming in from?
I'm in Calgary.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick thoughts on the Laine-Dubois trade. You got any feelings about that?
You know, I had Torts as an assistant coach when I was in New York, and you know, I often say, you know, one of the worst things that can happen in the NHL is guys like Tortorella and Mike Keenan and those guys winning Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we never get rid of those guys after that happens. So
that's true. The NHL is all about the old boys club, right? It's kind of cycling through the same guys again and again.
And, you know, I can totally see, you know, how Dubois, you know, after probably getting beat up for the last, you know, 3 or 4 years, finally said, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. I'm not enjoying myself. I don't like this. And, ask for a trade and away he goes. So Torts is either going to have no hair or his hair is going to be white coaching Patrick Laine. So
yeah. Oh, it's gonna be a real treat. I'm curious. I made the joke. I think if either Laine pops off or he never regains his form and can't put up with Tortorella. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's both Columbus and Winnipeg are both teams where their stars seem to want to leave a lot. So I don't know why that is, but yeah, it is.
Well, usually has something to do with the coach.
It certainly does. A lot of Winnipeg fans aren't super fond of Paul Maurice, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Also, on the hockey topic, it was just Wayne Gretzky's birthday, and I'm curious. I mean, you played in the Battle of Alberta for years and years and years and years. What's your favorite, or what's your, I guess, fondest Gretzky moment?
Well, I didn't play against Wayne when he was in Edmonton. I played against Wayne when he was in LA. So the year, let's see, the summer of 1988 was when he was traded.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just, I was just coming into the league at that time. So I played against him when he was in Los Angeles. So, but yeah, we met them actually on our run to the Stanley Cup in '89. We played them in the second round and swept them, beat them 4 straight. So
probably felt pretty good,
which was good. But, Wayne was always, one of my favorite players growing up as a kid, and, then having the opportunity to play against them and then play with him, just a super quality human being, first and foremost, apart up away from hockey.
Yeah.
And, the greatest compliment you can be paid as a player is I hated to play against you. And every time I see Wayne, he reminds me of the fact that he absolutely hated playing against me. And then so I was like,
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
So
get under the skin of the greats.
For sure. And then, him giving me, amazing opportunity in 2002 to be a part of the, Olympic team in Salt Lake City was pretty special. And,
no kidding.
He was the architect of that team. He put that whole team together. And so, it was amazing to be a part of that as well. So I'm forever grateful for that.
That was a historic, Olympic gold, especially for Canada. So I mean, I hadn't planned on talking about this, but so after Wayne Gretzky retired, he was briefly a coach, which didn't go very well. Have you ever thought about getting behind the bench yourself?
I told my wife to kick me right in the nuts if I ever mentioned the fact that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. That's a Pepto-Bismol commercial just waiting to happen. So
that entire bench is just indigestion. That makes sense.
Yeah.
This episode of the Two Idiots podcast is brought to you in part by Manscaped. Are you ready for some football?
Football.
Biggest game of the year is upon us. Football, get some! On February 7th in Tampa. And it's time to get your balls feeling super. Our partners at Manscaped are here to tell you to join the already 2 million men who trust Manscaped products for their below-the-waist grooming needs.
Take Gronk's advice and shave your super balls. Wow. Definitely get your Manscaped needs taken care of. Manscaped.com. We've all been there. Honestly, for the longest time, I didn't really want to mess around down there too much with the ghetto clipper that I had. But since I got the Manscaped stuff, shit's a breeze. Don't hurt myself. It's easy cleanup. No problems.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we all want to be safe while we're down there.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing you can do is get yourself a Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. Use the best tools to reduce nicks and cuts before the best game and choose the Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. Included is the Lawnmower 3.0, which is simply the best hygiene tool for the modern man.
Exactly. And that's because of their ceramic blade and skin-safe, trademarked, technology. Your snags will be reduced. Don't settle for unnecessary roughness below the waist, fellas. Come on. It also has waterproof technology and has a 90-minute battery for the really tough going. You need a little extra time.
Jeez Christ, 90 minutes. This thing's going to last longer than a Super Bowl. Now, believe me when I tell you, this is the Super Bowl champion of ball trimmers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like 6-time Lombardi winner here.
Mm-hmm.
The Perfect Package 3.0 also comes with Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. Crop Preserver is anti-chafing ball deodorant to keep your nuts in the game all 4 quarters.
And the Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extract. Wow. Witch hazel extracts that will give your balls a boost in clutch time. Witch hazel.
Man, doesn't that sound like
hazel.
just what you need?
Yeah, witch hazel.
You need it. You want it. Witch hazel, exactly. Now, Manscaped even threw in their shed travel bag to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. And speaking of comfort, the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs are also included and will bring your boxer game to the next level. I'm wearing them right now. They're great. Get them.
Holla. Complete your top-to-bottom grooming game with the new Refined Cologne Signature Scent by Manscaped. With the same signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas, this cologne is a perfect complement to the collection.
It smells good. Do you want to smell good? Get it. Now it's a whole new balls game this Super Bowl. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code IDIOTS at manscaped.com. Your super balls will thank you.
That's right. Definitely head to manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping with the code IDIOTS, IDIOTS. Manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping. Use it, tackle your pubes, and win the Super Bowl in your pants with Manscaped.
Raise your own Lombardi trophy.
Oh. Yep. Manscaped. Check them out.
Yeah, it's the game has long passed me by, in many respects.
Sure.
I was watching the Flames play last night and I had to turn it off because it was almost unwatchable.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, how so? Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Well, just they're so frustrating as a fan of the team to watch them play sometimes,
Yeah. Well, I'm a Red Wings fan. I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah. So, some nights they look like the Stanley Cup champions, and then the next night they look like the expansion San Jose Sharks, so
just historically bad. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a Wings fan, so the last few years have been, rough.
Yeah, but you guys have a good run there for what, 25 years?
I can't complain too much. My entire fandom, we made the playoffs until 4 years ago. But yeah, no, I can totally get that. I was curious as a former player. I'm always wondering if whether when you leave the league, if speaking for you, whether you continue being a fan. I guess you are, but is that super common that a lot of former players still remain kind of current NHL fans?
Of course. Well, yeah. How long did I played 15 years in the NHL.
For sure.
Obviously, I chose to live in Calgary for a reason, post career. Calgary's an amazing hockey town. It's an amazing community.
For sure.
And, we have one of the best alumni associations in all of the NHL. And so, when I moved back to Calgary, I knew that there would be lots for me to do here post career. And, it's unfortunate, the situation that we're in. And, there's a lot of good people here in Calgary who have lost their jobs and, lost their homes and whatnot. So it's been sad to sort of watch that happen,
For sure.
and to see our downtown completely, decimated, in the oil and gas industry. And there are a lot of charities in Calgary that are hurting because of, the decision and the choice to, shut down our oil and gas industry. So it's been, pretty awful to be watching all of this go down.
Totally understand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I know very little about the oil and gas industry as a whole. So we'll probably won't touch on that too much. But
where do you live in Manitoba?
In Steinbach, actually.
Oh yeah, I played there.
Oh, during the Allen Cup, or
yeah.
Oh,
I played for Ile-des-Chênes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, I totally forgot. I watched one of the Allen Cup final games. I don't remember what year that was. And I gotta say, it was a little embarrassing because I didn't think our rink was up to par.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. I enjoyed the Allen Cup there. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's not a bad. It's a good little hockey town. So yeah, good to hear. Because you were from Oxbow, Saskatchewan, if I'm reading right, which I actually worked in for a few months. So shout out to Oxbow.
What were you doing in Oxbow?
I worked for a locating company that did. They would basically locate the oil lines on the pump jacks and stuff. The little sites there. That's
a big oil and gas place.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up mostly in Russell, Manitoba.
Okay, yeah.
So
nice. You ever when were you last there?
Oh man, it's been a long time since I've been there. I moved my parents out here because they were getting older, and so they live in High River, which is 20 minutes from my house. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, but I played all my minor hockey in Russell, so.
Cool. I'm not even sure if I've ever been through Russell. That's the thing with Canada. Every province is so gigantic. It's easy to not explore as much as you'd like.
If you blink, you miss it. So.
Oh well, growing up around Steinbach, we have several communities like that.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
They have maybe a liquor store or a gas station, and that's about all we got going on.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to I mentioned I was a Red Wings fan. I'm curious. I got to ask. The fan in me is asking. Which was your least favorite Red Wing to play against?
Kurt Maltby.
Really? That's awesome. I wouldn't have guessed him for some reason. He was a pest for sure, but
yeah, he was a dirty, cheap player. That's all I'll say.
That's fair.
I tried to take his eye out one night, and I unfortunately missed. But I came really close. So.
Oh, I can't even imagine, because I became a hockey fan pretty late. Like I was around 16-ish, kind of, right shortly after the lockout. Growing up, I didn't really have any hockey family that was really into it. It didn't really grab me.
Yeah.
So I basically have only seen kind of new hockey. But when I watched the old school, the stuff that you played in, especially as a smaller guy, I can't even imagine. Like you watch highlights of even you or Yager and Lemieux and all these people that are just full on hooking and grabbing, and I don't know what was a penalty then. I don't know, especially when you hear stories of Gordie Howe, chucking elbows, and if you're a rookie, he's definitely going to try and break your legs. And how do you feel about the switch?
They should have changed the name from NHL to NRA, National Rodeo Association. everybody ropes, everybody rides,
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, it was an interesting era for sure. I think probably had the most amount of superstars, playing in one era,
yeah.
Like every team either had 1, 2, 3, or 4, really great players, So, and I just laugh, when, guys like Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews come around and people are just losing their minds and freaking out. And I'm like, I played in an era where we had 40 Connor McDavid. So,
That's wild. I love hearing, or I love reading things about where they put, like, say, a retired player into the current NHL. How do you think you would do in the current NHL in your prime?
Well, no red line, no hooking, no holding. It would be,
Blow it up.
yeah. There's hardly any hitting. You could go stand in front of the net and nobody's breaking sticks over your back, and
They're actually trying to crack down on that more yet. I've heard some commentary about they want to rein in the cross checks because it's getting, I guess, too much for a lot of folks. And then you watch videos from the 80s and
yeah,
or the 60s or the 70s. Or who was your favorite player growing up?
I think any small guy that was having success in the NHL, guys like Matt Snaslund in Montreal and Denny Savard in Chicago. And I don't know if you remember a guy named Dennis Marouk, but he wasn't any bigger. He wasn't any bigger than me, but he scored 60 twice in the NHL. Yeah. So yeah, any one of those guys that was having success, sort of gave me hope as a kid growing up, because, I was really, really small. And so
that's fair. When did you, I guess, peak in your height? Because according to Wikipedia, you're 5'6". Kind of when did you hit that?
Probably my second year in junior Moose Jaw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's wild. I have a point here. So since you're a smaller guy, drafted in the 8th round, obviously at the time people weren't drafting a lot of smaller players. Do you think that your career and your impact on the game has helped change that? Because there's more and more of them. Or do you think that was just natural progression and it was going to happen anyway?
Well, when you think about, when I broke into the NHL, the average height was 6 feet. The average weight was 200 pounds. Right. And so everybody was 6 inches taller than me and outweighed me by 50 pounds. And so, but, all I ever wanted was a chance and an opportunity to, go to a training camp. And what was it, 1987, I got drafted. And, this is an interesting stat that you'll find interesting is first year of eligibility of my draft year, I didn't get drafted. So 12 rounds went by the first year. And then the second year, another 8 rounds went by before I got picked. So there was 415 guys picked before me in the draft.
Yeah.
And I finished 64th in all-time scoring in the NHL. So I always tell kids all the time, it doesn't matter, what number you're picked. It's what you do, with the opportunity. And so, I think even the Flames, when they drafted me, probably didn't think that I was going to play in the NHL at any point. I remember stories being told that, that I would be a great minor league player and that I would put butts in the seats in Salt Lake City in the minors. Right. And so I came to my first training camp and I turned all those non-believers into believers. Right. And so I always tell kids, make the most of your opportunity, like get noticed, some way, somehow. And what I think I had 420 points in junior in 4 years. And and I didn't get drafted. There was 415 guys that were picked ahead of me. So I don't even know if scouts came to Moose Jaw,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
fair.
So
that's it. It's bananas though. Cause like nowadays in the NHL, there's however many guys that are sub, 5'10", that are even Johnny Gaudreau, on your Flames, and other smaller guys. It's becoming more and more of a thing, but the NHL is a copycat league. So if one team, like in the 70s when Philadelphia had their Legion of Doom, and everybody was 6'10" and 375 pounds or whatever, and killing everybody, and then everybody started replicating that. I personally love the fact that there's more skill, or that the skill is more highlighted, and that that smaller guys can thrive. But throughout
the history of the NHL, there's always been small guys. Like you look at
for sure.
You look at Henry Richard, the pocket rocket.
Yeah,
he's got 11 Stanley Cups. 11 Stanley Cups.
Yeah,
and the game was a lot more brutal. Back then, and and then Davey Keon, Toronto Maple Leafs, those type of players. There's always been, that one or two maybe guys in each sort of era that had success. And so, in the 90s, I was that guy, right? What was interesting was the Hockey News one year picked the top 10 power forwards in the NHL. And I was ranked 7th as a power forward, at 5'6",
That's amazing.
55 pounds soaking wet. It was like, really? Okay. I'm a power forward,
Yeah. Pretty generous with the description, but
game,
it's your playing style, right?
The game has definitely changed, to allow the smaller player to have, success. But, the game is still
absolutely,
the game is really fast. It's a lot faster than, when we were playing, and there's no red line too, right? So that makes a huge difference. That speeds up the game, exponentially when there is no red line, right? So
for sure,
and how
do you feel about,
and I had, I had tons of breakaways with a red line in. So I can't imagine how many breakaways I would have had, without a red line. So
yeah. Oh, well, who knows, with the way that things were called, even without a red line, there would have been a lot of probably high hits and I don't know. Who was it? I forget now. Was it Ken Dryden or no, Bobby Orr? Not, maybe it was Orr. There was some prominent hockey guy that was talking about that they should reintroduce the red line, or at least reintroduce the no two-line pass and all that stuff, to reduce concussions and that type of. How do you feel about that with the new NHL? You think they should, or is it working as is?
Well, coaches are so they adapt very well to whatever you throw at them, right? Mm-hmm. And the game is very how do you put it? I believe the game is overcoached, right?
Okay.
The coaches are making more money than the players, and obviously the coaches want to keep their jobs, so they keep that nice, big fat salary. And so, the mentality of coaches is, they want to play for a 0-0 tie, and you get a scoring chance in the last minute of the game. That's sort of how the game is played, right? And the game's played on, a lot of the game. The way the game is coached is they push everything to the outside of the rink, right?
Yeah.
And it's very orchestrated and very, sort of constructed that way, and not a lot of guys are allowed to, be creative. There's not a lot of one-on-one play. And people always ask me, what would the one rule change you would make? And I'd say only one coach on the bench.
Ooh,
one coach has to run the whole entire bench. because I remember watching an old classic game, and this was the Montreal Canadiens team that was I think they won 5 Stanley Cups in a row. And what I noticed was that Scotty Bowman was the only guy on the bench, and he was running the whole entire bench. And they won 5 Stanley Cups in a row. So, you know, I don't know, might be interesting to see how, you know, the game would be if you only had one coach on the bench.
True.
Yeah. So
especially when some coaches are making $5, $6, $7, $8 million a year, you know, to do what exactly, you know, and then they can blame their assistant coaches on, the power play sucks. What are you doing over there? Right. And, you know, maybe they should be more hands on. That's an interesting point. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's cool. So moving on with, so basically, as you, again, this is another thing I'm always curious about from players. When you're done playing, the transition out. I know some players are done very abruptly due to injury or circumstance, and then some kind of, you know, like you made a comeback in 2009, I believe it was, or you played for the Flames for a little bit again. When you're done, how's that transition, both mentally and kind of trying to focus and trying to get out of the thing that you've been doing for your whole life?
Well, it's a shock to the system, right? So
for sure.
You know, I started playing when I was 5 years old and left the NHL when I was 36. So basically for 31 years, I had a routine. You know, I knew exactly where I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be doing, what I was supposed to eat, what time I'm supposed to sleep, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, one morning I woke up and I was like, wow, I don't have to be at the rink. I don't have to be, you know. And so, you know, there was a period of time where, and, you know, when I left the game, all I had was a grade 12 diploma from Vanier Collegiate in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And, you know, I had more than half my life left to live. And, you know, I had no idea what that looked like. Right. And so, you know, I remember, you know, sort of being, you know, quite lost. You know, my consumption of alcohol and drugs obviously, you know, increased because of boredom. Sure. And, you know, it's almost like a death, you know, that's what it feels like, you know, the grief and sort of loss of, you know, you go from playing in front of 20,000 people every night to sort of, you know, nothing, you know. And so that, you know, that adrenaline rush and all, you know, that, you know, I was a guy, I loved to compete, right? That's what made me such a great player was, you know, I competed at the highest level. And so how am I going to replace that, you know, post hockey career, you know, go to the bank and beat up my banker, or, you know, like it just, you know what I mean? It's like, so, you know, it's a big transition. And, you know, I remember being very depressed and sort of lost and whatnot. And then, you know, cause you can't just retire and do nothing. Right. You know, and, and so, you know, after I wrote my book in 2009, you know, that really sort of put me in a completely different direction. It was a completely different focus, but, you know, I think it's been probably more rewarding, you know, my post-hockey career than my actual playing career. And, you know, the ability to inspire people to, you know, whatever you experienced in your life, you know, there's always an opportunity for you to seek out healing opportunities. And, you know, what is it? Today's, tomorrow, you know, tomorrow is Bell Let's Talk Day. And, you know, I've become, you know, an ambassador and an advocate and an activist, around the subject of trauma, mental health, and addiction, right? And like
sure.
I said, that's what fills my whole entire existence now is, answering emails from people who are looking for, healing opportunities, or asking me, how did you overcome this, or how did you overcome that, and all that stuff. And so, it's been amazing. And, my charity work has, times 10, now that I'm not playing anymore. So it's been, it's been amazing, and it it fills my days. It gets, it's the thing that gets me out of bed every morning, is looking for that one opportunity to help somebody who's, having a difficult time or facing some challenges.
Yeah, that's incredible. We on our show we've been touching a lot on lately, kind of mental health and in general, or more specifically, men's mental health, because very often it gets swept under the rug. Nobody talks about it, especially in like hockey culture. There's that kind of toxic-ish kind of bro culture that with hazing and God knows what. You would know better than I would, of course.
Yeah.
But
seen it all, done it all, got the T-shirt.
Yeah. They just hand those out at the end, right? But it's an important thing, and I actually wrote down Bell Let's Talk Day, and I'm glad that the shift is happening, that the stigma is, I hope, being removed, and if we can help one person realize that and reach out to somebody and get the help that they need, which is great. I always can't help but wonder though, when it's corporate like that, whether the corporation actually cares or if it's like a marketing thing. I mean, if something good happens out of it, then wonderful, then maybe it's worth it, and they make money too. Who cares, right? But yeah,
I think that Bell has done an amazing job of bringing awareness to the subject.
Sure. Yep.
But on the other side of the coin, we still are seeing the highest suicide rates on in the history of our planet. So, why isn't all this awareness being turned into action and getting people well? There's your answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
at some point it needs to transition.
Everybody's aware that we have a mental health issue. Everybody's aware that we have an addiction crisis, especially in the opioid sort of world. We've had more opioid deaths and more suicides than we've actually had COVID deaths. So what does that tell you? Right.
Sure.
And, and really, the thing that brings us into mental illness and addiction is, one word, and that's trauma.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
And so the stigma is, we haven't created a space where a guy like me can stand up in front of, 500 people at a speaking engagement and say, I was raped 150 times by my coach, right? There's no place for that. There's nobody knows what to do with that trauma, right? And so as an advocate and an activist, we fight stigma all day, every day. It's because, people are so afraid of being judged by what happened to them. It keeps them silent, keeps everybody silent.
Yeah.
And, there's all kinds of different kinds of abuse. There's emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. If you were bullied in school, that's trauma. If your parents divorced as a young kid, that's trauma. So, trauma is very subtle, and, they keep shoving down our throats that we have a systemic racist problem in this country, but I see it as systemic trauma, not systemic racism.
For sure.
And we're talking 10,000 years of trauma, and I know from looking at epigenetics, so our DNA, that
Yeah.
that trauma gets passed down in our genes and in our DNA. And so, if you look at, the Holocaust survivors or residential school survivors, they've traced that gene 7 generations that it's been passed down. And so even though the person 7 generations in the future was not part of the Holocaust or wasn't part of the residential school system, they still feel, what those people who actually were in that experience feel. And so, like I said, we need to, I don't know if it normalizes the word, but, we have to be more comfortable as a society and realize the fact that trauma is the catalyst here, and that we need to create environments where people can sort of talk about this stuff, because I believe the first process in the healing journey is use your voice and express. So I love that, it's Bell Let's Talk, but I've done several events for Bell Let's Talk where all the brass is sitting in the front row listening to me, and I say to them all the time, like, what the fuck are we talking about? What are we really talking about here? And to me, it's trauma that brings us into these spaces of mental illness and addiction issues, and
For sure.
The thing about emotional pain, which is what mental illness really is you can't see it, right? You can't see it. And so if I looked at you, I would never know that something emotionally was going wrong with you, because we're all so good at, what I like to call wearing lipstick, right? When we leave the house, we're put together, and, on the outside, everything seems fine. But I would say that, your insides have to match your outsides. And a lot of times, people are afraid to expose, the emotional pain that people, experience. And so that therein lies the stigma. I really believe that that's where we need to get to. And we're getting there slowly but surely, are recognizing the fact. But, we need to do a better job of being vulnerable, I guess, is what, especially for men, right? And, but as, like I said, as an advocate, I'm no longer afraid to talk about what happened, right? And because because I've done that, I've actually healed, and I'm on a continuum of, healing for the rest of my life, right? So
absolutely. And I think it's important to, like you mentioned, that's a great point, because if you don't bring it up and talk about it, then it's like an internal wound that festers, and that it continues to just get worse and worse. And it's also important that someone with your platform, with your experience, with, as a pro athlete, as a international star, that it can happen to you, and that you're still struggling with your own battles, your own mental health, your own, all that stuff. And while at the same time, like, we just actually recorded an episode that's dropping after yours, with a local guy who has very similar story, some abuse. And then, he was a good athlete. And so then he put on his face, and then he was a party guy. And then it was, he filled it, whatever hole was there, with substances and attention and sex and whatever else. But I think it's important to realize that it's not just, the regular Joe Blow that's struggling, that it's people that are in higher positions of all stages that are struggling too.
Well, and every campaign is 1 in 5, 1 in 4, 1 in 6, and so why are we shaming the one person who has, mental illness.
Yeah.
And in my experience, in my research over the last 15 years, I really believe it's all of us. I believe it's 5 and 5. And, if you have mental illness, guess what? You're not in the minority. You're in the majority.
No, absolutely
right?
Not.
And so, that message right there, increases the stigma attached to, mental illness. Right.
Yep.
And,
100%.
And, what is addiction? Addiction is emotional pain management. That's what it is.
For sure.
And people turn to addiction as a coping mechanism to suppress or numb out that emotional pain, right?
Yep.
And it all goes hand in hand, right? And, the way that, mental health has, sort of positioned itself from a marketing standpoint is it's just mental illness. Well, no, there's trauma and there's addiction on, that bookends either side of it. Right. And so, I think we need to acknowledge more that these are the three things that are attached to, emotional pain.
For sure. No, that's powerful stuff. And I think you're absolutely right. And we're almost out of time. But yeah, no, I thank you for what you do. And I think that, like you say, mental illness, mental health, trauma, it's all on a spectrum. I think everybody has experienced something in their life that has caused them pain, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whatever it is. And we're all dealing with it in our own way. And frankly, social media isn't helping. And, everything else isn't helping. But I hope that we're moving slowly and steadily in the right direction, and partially thanks to you. Before we go, I read that you also make country music. I want to quickly touch on that before we leave.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's going awesome.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very musical family because we're Métis, right?
Yeah.
If you know anything about Métis people, music is part of our DNA. And so, my fondest memories as a child, were watching my grandfather play the fiddle. My dad was a guitar player, entertainer. My uncle was an entertainer as well. And so, it was always a part of me. And so after I wrote my book, I had a friend in the music industry, lives in Winnipeg.
Oh.
And our dads used to play music together before we were even born. And his name is Phil DeChambeau. And he works for Sony Records, Sony Music. And so I called him up and I said, hey, I want to stroke something off my bucket list. I said, would you write a song with me? And he said, yeah, I would love to. And so I went to Winnipeg for a week and we wrote this amazing song. And when it was all finished and mastered and all those things, he sent it to me and I listened to it and, I was like, holy cow, like this is a really good song. And so I called him and I said, what do you think of the song? He's like, yeah, it's awesome. So I kept going back to Winnipeg, making time to, write. Cause I really love the process of writing songs, taking a thought, an idea, a word, a phrase, and turning it into something, amazing. And so I think we wrote about 30 songs.
Wow.
And then picked the 10 best songs and found a recording studio here in Calgary and, put this whole thing together. And, I think we've sold like 10,000 albums.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
It's done really well. And the album is on Apple and Spotify and, YouTube and all that. So, it's been awesome. And
that's so
right
great.
now we're in the process of writing the second album, and we'll see what happens.
And you had a song in Madden 18, if I read right.
Madden football, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty wild. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you're cool with it, but I was thinking maybe I could throw a song at the end of this episode to play out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do it. Yeah, right. For sure.
I'll hunt it. That'd be great. Recommend one. Which one would you want me to play?
My Life's Been a Country Song.
Sounds good. I'll add that into the episode, and we'll have that exit out. Awesome, Theo. I don't want to. Well, I would happily talk to you all day, but I understand you're a busy guy, and thank you so much for. Oh, before we go, where do you keep your? Not specifically, but do you have your Stanley Cup ring displayed? Do you wear it around all the time? What do you do with it?
No, it's. I have it somewhere in the house. But you know what? To me, I get addicted to the process of winning. Sure. And at the end of that process, they put a Stanley Cup ring on your finger and they put a gold medal around you. I love the actual process of what it takes to go through the experience of winning. And, I've had many opportunities to go through that process. And, when I'm at events, people always want to know what happened behind the scenes.
Of course.
Right. And so to me, those experiences, every single guy who loves hockey, played hockey, still kicks around in the beer leagues and all that stuff, they would love to have the experience that I did walking into the Team Canada dressing room in 2002. And, I looked up and I saw my jersey, and then I looked to the left and I saw Sakic 91. And to the right of me, I saw 66 Mario Lemieux. So I sat beside Joe Sakic and Mario Lemieux at the Olympics in 2002. So, wouldn't every guy in the whole entire world want to, be me at that, at that point?
I would ugly cry. Yeah,
exactly.
Just break down. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you look around the dressing room and you see, Lindros and Niedermeyer and Pronger and McGinnis and Brodeur and, it's just like Yzerman.
A terrible team they had that year. Hey, it was just
shitty team.
They could barely get any good guys. Yeah. Exactly. Scraping the bottom of the barrel in 2002.
The best beer league team ever assembled in the history of hockey.
Yeah, without a doubt. Awesome. No, I take your point though. That's the experience is more important than the baubles that you get at the end. I get that. Awesome, Theo. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining. Normally, there's a second host, but he wasn't able to make it. So thank you for joining us. For being on the Two Idiots podcast. We appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, anytime, man. I appreciate it, and continued success with the podcast.
Thank you. If you come to Winnipeg, let's try and we'll do one live, maybe. In the
coming
future,
sure.
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll set something up.
All right. As soon as this friggin' COVID's over. As soon as this COVID's over, right?
Exactly. Sooner the better.
All right, man. Take care.
Awesome, man. Well, enjoy your day. You too. Thanks.
You as well.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Wow. Well, that was amazing. Yeah, no, I think I'm still a little bit starstruck. I was really nervous when it started. I think I'm not used to doing these outros alone, so I'll ramble here for a little while before letting you go. Shout out to Theo. Incredible story. Got his book right here, Playing with Fire. Check it out. I can lend you the copy that I own if you want to read his story. Definitely check it out. Watch his highlights. Guy was a wrecking ball. Really solid guy. Hell of a player, and doing a lot for mental health. So definitely shout him out. Check out Theo on social media. I'm gonna quickly confirm all of his. I believe he's Fleury 14 on most things. On Instagram, he's Theo Fleury 14. On Twitter, he is also Theo Fleury 14. So definitely just search up Theo Fleury and follow him. And definitely with Bell Let's Talk. Like I said, I'm not sure how I feel necessarily about whether or not I believe most corporate involvement is actually legit, or if it's just, to get on the bandwagon. Regardless, sharing the struggles and the perseverance and the difficulties and the challenges and the successes of people dealing with mental health is important, no matter who's doing it or why. So definitely let's all hop on the Bell Let's Talk bandwagon. Let's donate money. Let's talk, but also let's move forward and let's work through it. If you're struggling, find some therapy, some counselors, a friend to talk to lean on. Mental health is linked a lot with physical health. So if you can also, working out, endorphins, all that stuff, it's all important. And I think we can all use that to move forward and work forward. So without further ado, we're the Two Idiots podcast, and thank you so much for joining us. If this was a really, really, really fun one, because I'm rocking my Iginla jersey. I wish I had a Fleury jersey to not just so that would have represented even better. But that said, it's what's done is done. Thank you again to Theo for joining us. Check him out on social media. While you're there, go to Instagram, search for at Two Idiots Podcast. On Facebook, search for the Two Idiots Podcast. We're on Twitter, Two Idiots Show. On YouTube, type in Two Idiots Podcast. Look for our logo. There are a few of them there. Most of them are less good than us, so check ours out. Definitely, and if you feel like supporting the show, you can send us a donation if you like. We've had people do that, which is very generous and wonderful. I understand people are struggling, so definitely don't feel obligated at all. Like if you have a couple of bucks that you want to send to a couple of morons just trying to figure out the world, please do. You can either do it directly to us via our email, or go to patreon.com/2idiots-podcast. And for as little as $3 a month, you can support the show, get bonus episodes, get perks, get merchandise, get just interaction. You're part of the club, get added to the Idiot Hall of Fame. Speaking of which, the current members of the Two Idiots Hall of Fame, and that is the $7 tier and above, are as follows. Mr. Brian Moore, welcome. Mr. Drew McDonald, Miss Kayla Lundberg, on behalf of her and Jordan Peters, and the mother of Randy, Danny Dewick. Thank you, folks. We love you more than everyone. So join them in the Idiot Hall of Fame. There's different tiers, different benefits. Basically, for as little as $3 a month, you can help us upgrade our equipment. Hopefully we can get back to the studio someday. But just so we can keep making a better and better product for you. So that's patreon.com/2idiots-podcast. Check it out. Maybe it interests you. Maybe you just want to support local. #support local. As douchey as that is. But thank you all for listening. This was our first Stanley Cup champ in the house, figuratively. And he should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to say that right now. Hall of Fame. Almost 1,100 points in, well over 1,000 games in the NHL. In an era where a 5'6" player isn't destined to thrive most of the time. So I think you're in that. Anyway, folks, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed, because I did. The hockey fan in me was buzzing the whole time. And apparently Kirk Maltby is a dickhead. I didn't know that, but now I do. So live and learn. Anyway, folks, thank you again for listening. Let's support each other, spread some love. Bell Let's Talk. Mental health is important. Everybody find resources that can help you help others, help yourself, and work forward. All right, folks, have a good day. Bye.
looking at Lady Liberty in New York all alone. Standing by the Hudson River and it's reminding me of home.